Hey guys, Amarathi here, and I'm back with another build. Today we have the Firebrand Ignite build. So you might have seen my Firebrand Flameweave combo build that was focusing on the hit damage of Flameweave. This one is dropping Flameweave, and we're only going to be using Firebrand. And instead of hit damage, we're going to focus on Ignite. Now how the build works is we're going to be using Firebrand with some really quick attack speed, and it's going to be proccing a lot of attacks that ignite on melee hit, ignite on fire skill, and then proccing some more fire skills which will benefit from that, global ignite or ignite on fire skill. So we can really stack up the ignite on a lot of enemies, and use the enchant weapon conflag combo to quickly annihilate some of those big enemies and drop their HP very quickly. Alright, before we get stuck into it, I'm going to give a quick build overview on what you need to get started. The two items that I would recommend that you need are going to be the Eye of Rain and Soulfire. Similar to most Ignite builds, they are the most bang for buck in terms of getting Ignite on hit with fire skills, and an Eye of Rain using it on the melee skill. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be using Firebrand, and we're going to be looking at a few combos. So first of all, it's just a really fast attacking skill, and it is a fire skill, so perfect for us to get like many ignite hits on. And then we're actually going to take the Brand of Arcanus, which will convert it to adaptive spell damage, but we're not going to do too much with it. What we want out of it is the Flame Weave, because that's another fire skill that is going to proc your ignite on a lot of enemies. Now it won't use your melee ignite chance, but it will use your ignite chance on fire skills. So important to make the difference between those two. And then I'm looking at like a lot of ward gain through ward on hit and ward per second. I've got the ignite chance up here. And the other aspect of the combo is, of course, the enchant weapon. Looking at the conflagrate with all that ignite damage, what we want to do to take down big enemies is stack it really high and then hit our enchant weapon as kind of an execute. And that's going to consume all the ignite stacks on an enemy and hit them for 200% extra of all that ignite damage. So you can see some really big hits coming out of that. Alright, so for the build, we're going to be running Firebrand, Enchant Weapon, Mana Strike, Teleport, and Flame Ward. So for Firebrand, we're going 3 points into Fulmination, 2 points into Flare, 3 points into Crossfire, 1 point into Brand of Arcanus, 1 point into Pyre, 5 points into Pyro Shielding, 3 points into Warding Flames, 2 points into Wildfire. If you want to be really defensive, what I would say is take these 2 points into Flare and Crossfire and put them all into Insulation. That's how I started off the build. But what I'm finding is that armor isn't really the best return for value at this stage. It's very good to get, around 2k armor or thereabouts. And after that, it's very little return for what you're trying to achieve, and only even with 6 stacks, so you'd be getting 300 armor at 6 stacks. It's not going to be game changing even with your armor percentage. For enchant weapon, 2 points into a My Landing Strikes, 5 points into Eternal Flame, 1 point into Conflagrate, 4 points into Searing Conflagration, 4 points into Concentration, and 4 points into Celerity. For Mana Strike, what we're going to be doing is trying to get the most mana out of this, and how we do that is we're going to go 4 points into Swift Sap, 1 point into Sprite Blade, 4 points into Mana Drain, 1 point into Mana Cleave, 3 points into Arcanus Blade, 3 points into Reclamation, and 4 points into Rage Sap. So what I do with this one is I actually just do the numlock trick, so I'll show you that one afterwards. And because I don't consume a lot of mana with Firebrand, you are consuming a little bit out of Pyre, where that's going to consume 10 per cast. So it's going to take away at it. But just having the Mana Strike numlocked means that most of the time you'll just be able to hit an enemy and they'll get you kind of above budget of where you need to be. For Teleport, we have 5 points into Crystalline Passage, 5 points into Time Dilation, 4 points into Aether Barrier, and 5 points into Stable Bubble. You notice I'm not running the 5 points into Resonant Plasma for the Fire and Lightning because you just get so much from your passives. It was really more about the armor and the cold resist, because cold resist can be a little bit harder to come by because you don't really have too much of that in your passives. You've got fire and lightning a lot more, and just the armor's quite nice as well. I've also got the 1 point on Out of Mind. Flame Wards, I am going 3 points into Dilation, 5 points into Infusion, 2 points into Stalwart Defense, 5 points into Barrier, 2 points into Desperate Defense, 2 points into Fuel the Flame, and 1 point into Dual Aegis. Flame Ward does a lot of work in this build, so it's a little bit deceptive, but every time you do get hit, you're going to cause a Flame Burst, which is a fire skill, right? So when you've got a lot of enemies coming around you and attacking you very quickly, you're going to create a lot of flame bursts, and each of those flame bursts are going to proc ignite. So that's another way that you can handle high density and big mobs is if you see you've got like a lot of low threatening smaller packs around you, just keep them, don't kill them straight away. Identify if there's any beetles or frostworms or pyre golems in the pack. Stand on top of that, hit your flame ward, get hit, that's going to help you stack ignite, then push into your enchant weapon. For passives, we've got 20 points in the mage base class, so 7 points into Scholar, 8 points into Arcanist, 5 points into Mage Flow. You'll notice I'm not running Knowledge of Destruction at this point because I am actually running Wing Guards, but if you don't want to run that, you can get some extra crit in your build. It's usually a pretty good one. And another good one is the Ice and Fire there with the Ignite chance on Fire skill. Unfortunately, I just couldn't find the 5 points because I needed it elsewhere. For the Sorcerer's Tree, 5 points into Mana Shell, 10 points into Wisdom, 1 point into Pyromancer. Note, this is like a really low return on value, so even if it's Ignite build, it doesn't do a lot per point. 4 points into Whirling Snow, get that chill chance, it will really help you disabling enemies, and then 5 points into Lava Mensa for the penetration and fire damage, just so strong at the moment. If you do want to drop that, that's what will help you pick up the ice and fire nodes there. Within the Spellblade tree, we've got 8 points into Arcane Warden, another good part of the build, looking at that attack speed, so you're going to get all that ward on hit. Between that, what's on your Firebrand by itself, and a few other abilities. Elemental Affinity, so picking up the elemental resistance there. If you have more on your gear, you can drop points out of here. 10 points into Elemental Strike for the Ignite chance. 5 points into Warden's Echo, so that Elemental Burst is the other thing that's going to proc Ignite on enemies on a fire skill. So just as a quick example, you see the flames going out there, so I've got the attack, the Flame Reeve, and the Burst, so 3 things that can possibly ignite an enemy on the fire skill, and then the Firebrand hitting on the melee hit, so ignite on melee hit there. Continuing on, 5 points into Arcane Shielding, 5 points into Shattered Aegis, really strong combo, 5 points into Essence Jewel, 5 points into Mana Reaver, 5 points into Molten Edge, 10 points into Mental Fortitude, and 5 points into Prodigy. Alright, for items, so as I said, we're going to be using the Eye of Reen and the Soulfire, so they're the 2 mandatories, and you're looking at trying to get the chance to ignite on hit with fire skills there, and the chance to hit or ignite on melee hit as high as possible. That's what you care about. I am running Wing Guards because of how the build works. Crit provides me with very, very little, even though, like you'll notice on the Eye of Reen, each crit's going to increase your fire damage over time. The return on investment on those crits it's not going to make a difference, because at the end of the day you're probably going to be looking at best at about like a 10 to 12% crit chance, which means like 3-4 stacks of Eye of Reen, maybe you'll go up to 10 on bigger packs. And that's only about 50% increased damage over time. Isn't actually a whole heap, whereas you compare it to the 40% increased melee attack speed, that's going to do work on a the fastest base weapon, so 1.25 there. I won't go too much into the details, but it's definitely worth picking up. Also, it looks like dodge is probably going to be the best addition at this stage. I'll talk a little bit more around that at the end, but yeah, it's probably what we want to be focusing on besides just the minimum benchmark on armor and picking up a shield. So here's my kite shield, really just looking at the block chance and all resist as the most important affixes there. I'm running a bone clamor but butte just because it's just such a strong, well-statted item that serves the build well. You don't have to run that, you can just run a solar helm for the fire damage implicit and you know, try and pick up what your resistance is, your cooldown reduction, all the good stuff on the mage. You can get ignite chance on helm. Orion's Eye, once again, just a really strong item that saves you having to stat into void resistance, but otherwise just pick up like a bone amulet with void resistances on there. I'm using the suffixes, as you can see here, on my my non-unique items to hit my resistance caps, and that's because in combination with an all resist, this is the most effective way to kind of hit your resistance cap at this stage. For Battle Mage robes, I am running like dodge, health, armor, anything like that. You can also run ignite on fire skill usage for these. Kind of just depends what you have, but I think it's quite important that you're focusing on dodge. I've got a dodge belt there as well. Critical strike avoidance I'm not finding to be as useful as it was in the past. I just don't think it's competing well with other builds. For a much lower HP build, I'd definitely say critical strike avoidance is a lot more necessary, but this is the kind of build where you're going to have a very comfortable 2 to 3k ward shield on top of, you can see I've got like a 1.2k health shield there. You're not going to be crit, so it's not a whole heap, but you know, it's nice to have a little bit if you've got that on your gear, but I wouldn't go out of my way to get it. Rings, a chance to apply frailty on hit is probably one of the new ones coming through that's just really strong. Spoke about it in the previous build. That's going to be doing a lot of work, and then just, you know, making sure you've got your resistances in order. And then I'm using ignite duration, and if possible, increased armor. That's my combination there. If you don't have that, look for ignite duration and increased damage over time. But it's designed to be more of a tanky build, so you don't really want to focus on damage too much. So I'm trying to, where possible, focus on increased armor. If you don't have a lot of these, you can also look for the large idols, which are the 1x4s, and they'll have. Well, there you go, guys. Here's the tanky igniter build. Really enjoying Firebrand and all that's coming with it. I think it's quite a good build. I'm going to see how high I can take it. Unfortunately, Arena can be a little bit performance issues in there in terms of lag and graphical lag. So we'll see how we go with that. But I think it's a pretty fun build to actually see a viable Ignite build. We've seen some decent ones, but nothing that I'd be very confident in Arena, because they just tend to fall off against big enemies. This seems to be scaling pretty well. And handling both large packs and single enemies in combinations really well. It's just super tanky, as you can kind of see. I'll get in my character sheet here, so you can see I very easily get up to about 30% armor. I've got good block effectiveness and block chance. Got a decent amount of dodge. Hit my dodge belt up to 66%, and then you can see me there sitting on 2.6k ward with a lock on mana strike, so I don't need to focus about that, and then using like flame ward and enchant weapon just to help out those things, so you can see me skyrocketing on that in a very tanky build. Anyway, there you go, guys. I'll leave you to it. Some not bad ticks of ignite on the dummy as an example of kind of the damage you can dish out. Not the top, but just because it's so defensive, I really enjoy this build. I'll leave you guys to it. Leave any comments down below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.